help us understand with the current modern life. There is so much chaos all around us. We are continuously in a rush to do everything. There's a proper scientific reason to chew your food 32 times, if I'm getting that number correctly. But even today, and personally, I myself have observed me doing it, that we just often just gulp it down. We don't chew, we don't relish our food. We are like, okay, just the bite, two chews, and gulp it down. That's the usual way, or wash it down with water or some drinks that we're having along with our food. How can yoga help you bring that stability or that calmness in everything that we do out there?
Okay. So for me, I think, initially I also started becoming like when I started yoga in the first or two or three sessions, I was like, please teach me, Sirsasana and all, like the headstand and all, right? So
Mhm.
those things I feel is a journey. So and then when I started reflecting on that, how I understood is like as a student of science, what I understood is science generally go in the reductionist manner. So what I'm saying is if you want to understand the machine, right? So
Mhm.
you have to only understand how it is working. If you try to understand where the electricity is generated, from where it is coming and all those things, that will be too much. You just understand how the induction motor works with the electromagnetic thing, right? So if you reduce in science, you try to understand things better. Now what happens is in life also we try to do the same thing. We try to keep that the food is getting food in the mall and that's all, right? And then somebody is making the food and I'm eating it, or for that matter I'm buying a cook and drink it and then that is energy drink for me and all, right? So what I see is the concept of reductionism does not work in the life, because life is always holistic. You
Mhm.
have to see everything in the holistic manner. So that's what the yoga approach is. Okay, so it tries to teach what is the holistic manner of it, right?
Mhm.
So for an example, when I started on my journey towards the yoga, right, so I started understanding the yoga and all. Over the time I started understanding non-violence because it is connected with the yoga. Then I started understanding the food. Now when you start understanding the food, you think about the farmers and all, right? And then you think about the climate and all. So this is where I started my startup, which is related to the invasive species, which is connected with the climate, and it is climate education as well. Maybe we can have another podcast for that. But anyway, so what I'm trying to say here is that when you start going on the yoga journey, and I'm still going, it's like nobody's reaching anywhere, it's just a journey and you have to enjoy it. So when I started understanding it, everything started, making sense. The sustainability, the climate change, the food, the farmers and everything, right? And that's where I started connecting everything. And that's how even I currently I work. So there's a movie called Karate Kid. You must have known it, right? It's 2010 movie. So in that there is one nice dialogue that kung fu is everything. If you remember,
Mhm.
Jackie tell him, right? So what we tell is yoga is life. It's like yoga comes out of your mat. Yoga is everything. Like you have from starting from the morning till you sleep, even in the sleep, everywhere yoga is there. So how you reflect, how you behave, how you talk with the people, everywhere yoga comes. And if you start thinking everything consciously, thing will make sense over the time. It's not that it's not one day journey for sure, but thing will make sense over the time.
So, Pavan, help us understand how can yoga really, influence our approach towards the food and nutrition that we are consuming. The previous question was more around bringing calmness, bringing stability, into our life. But how does it influence what we are eating or the way we are consuming nutrition or giving nutrition to our body?
So I'm just connecting. Let's start connecting with the previous answer only. So I was talking about, like, in a one word, I was talking about the self-awareness, right? When you try reflecting more, reflecting is introspection, self-introspection and all. You think everything with your conscious mindset, then your self-awareness will increase, right? So even for an example, I also had a anger issue long back, and the yoga helped me heal that. Okay. And then over the time in yoga, there is a one of the biggest concept is balancing, right? Balancing in your life, balancing on posture, balancing in your breathing, everything, right? So balancing is also one of the concept. And the third thing which is also coming into my mind is when you are in the yoga, when you are in the balancing asana, for an example, you are in the vrikshasana, tree pose, right? Your whole energy goes in sustaining that posture, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
So if you think about it, that's the power of presence. You try to stay in the presence, right? So these three principle came to me through yoga: self-awareness, self and reflections, and then balancing and power of presence, right? So initially also I was trying to eat anything and everything, whatever is coming to my mind, I used to eat, and then I go for the yoga. But over the time, with the reflection, with the self-awareness, I understood that if I eat certain type of food, I'm not able to perform my yoga properly. And that is very clear. Like if you keep practicing yoga, it comes to you very naturally that you can clearly see that today something is wrong, that I'm not able to reach to my posture properly, or something is missing in my posture, right? So then you start reflecting like what you have done in today, and that is different from the yesterday, and then you came across the whole food thing. So what I understood over the time is, when I eat junk food or my diet is unhealthy, then I won't be able to perform my yoga properly. And that's how the whole thing related to the food came into the picture. So I just leave about the nutrition for now. Maybe we can talk later. But
Mhm.
my
Mhm.
flexibility was getting impacting, my physical health was getting impacting. And if I start reflecting more with the years, then I see that even my mental health is getting affected because of the food. And that's how I started choosing the food which is going with the yoga for me. So does that answer your question?
Yeah, totally, totally. It does. It does.
Okay.
And I do echo with you. The food or the meal that we are having just before we are planning to do our yoga practice, it does reflect on the way we are able to do the posture. Like I used to be very regular with my yoga practice 3 years back, 2021. Every day I used to do yoga, and the dinner was something that impacted my practice the next day. The number
Hmm.
of asanas I was able to do, or the way I was able to concentrate or hold my pose for certain duration, everything was impacted. Or if I'm having something before, and I believe it goes not just for yoga or any form of the exercise as well.
Agreed. Yes.
And if somebody is going to gym and doing squats or picking up weights, anything, if you're not having something that your body requires to get that nutrition, to get that energy, you would not be able to do the required number of sets or required number of asanas out there.
Completely agree. Yes.
How is gratitude and yoga interrelated?
So I think how I see is that you want me to connect with the food, I can still connect with the food and then come with the gratitude thing.
Sure.
So how I see is that over the time, doing yoga, I see that the energy level was fluctuating because of the food, right? Which we already talked, and that is true for all the things apart from the yoga, gym, or anything, right?
Yeah.
So, and if I have a good diet, I can see my mind body connections also, right?
Mhm.
So over the time, I started doing the mindful eating. Now, what is mindful eating is, I think it's a very known concept. So what we do is, generally when we start eating, it's not that from where we got it, right? Who put that in the market, who harvested it, who cultivated it, who put the seed in that, right? And apart from that, so these are the part of the human beings which we are talking about.
Yep.
What help in the germination: air, water, rain, animals, and all, right? So this everything, when I started eating, I think about everything, and that's what it's called mindful eating. And when I start about the whole circle, it is so fascinating that the only thing which came to me was the gratitude and appreciation towards that, right? So as I told you, right, when I was talking about the holistic approach of yoga and not the
Mhm.
reductionist approach, right? So in that also, when you think about the holistic approach, everything came into the picture: the soil, the earth, the farmer, and all, right? And then you think the food which is coming on my plate is not just that I went to mall and I got it. It's like there are like 1,000 people connected, and apart from the people, 1,000 different animals, insects, bacteria, everything came into the picture. And after that, I'm getting this food on my plate, right? So if you think about that, if you do mindful eating, the only emotion come to you is definitely gratitude. That's what I see it. So that's how I see the yoga and gratitude connected. So with yoga, I start to see the holistic approach of the life, and that's where the gratitude came into the picture.
But Pawan, you very briefly touched upon a point, the source of the food we are eating, the air we are breathing, the water we are drinking. We both live in metro cities. You're living in Bangalore, I live in Faridabad, very close to Delhi. I don't think the food we are eating, the air we are breathing, or the water we are drinking, they are in the purest form that's available. Each of these have been adulterated by one form of the chemical or other. Like right now, we are in summers. As October approaches, Delhi is a gas chamber, more or less, to that level, where
Yes.
AQIs reach beyond 500 as well, certain days. Bangalore is facing some water crisis right now.
Yes.
And we all are consuming the same source that of the food, different grains that are coming in, they are either GMP modified, XYZ, the multiple heavy terminologies that are coming and are being marketed as more nutritious, which I believe is a very big mis-selling happening out there. How in this world that's filled with so much of adulteration and mixture out there, how do I find that, I would not say pure, but the source which is at least healthy for my body, which is not depleting my body after I consume it? How do I maintain that?
So if I talk about Bangalore, like I'm speaking from the eye, that in Bangalore there is something called Navdarshanam, which is around 40 kilometers from here, and
Mhm.
that's a small organization. They work with the farmers, around 40 farmers nearby to their places, and they supply their grown vegetables and fruits to the people in the Bangalore. So I consume that. Again, I'm not telling that it is going to be completely chemical free and all, but they do organic farming. So the first answer that come to my mind is that maybe everywhere, if I see, I stayed in, I think 10 or till now, I stayed in like at least 6 or 7 metro cities. And I see that if you consciously find, if you try to find, you will get some sources which are completely organic. And then you get that with the least chemical on the fruits and vegetables. So that's how I go generally. So that is my first answer, that if we can find such things, in the market. Apart from that, the second thing which comes to my mind is always go for the local food. So if you think about, for an example, if I talk about the Karnataka, when I came to Karnataka, I started drinking ragi ganji, which is ragi is a millet, right? So I started drinking the soup which is made of the millet ragi. So that is Karnataka. When I stay in the Maharashtra, I was eating jawar. When I stay in Gujarat, I eating bajra. So these are the millets, but these are the local produce, right? So if we try to eat the local produce, there are high chances that they are fresh, and there are high chances that they are less chemical induced, because the atmosphere or the soil is, completely in tune with what they are growing.
Mhm.
So there are chances that they don't have to use too much chemical in that. So these are some of the things which is coming to my mind if you want to go towards the healthy food.
No, I agree with you. Those are some of the steps we can take as a conscious individual. And I guess that's a very subjective debate to get into. It's difficult. You have got that same piece of land that was earlier serving an X population, and now the same piece of land is serving 100X of that population.
Yes.
So that's again a major challenge that we have as humans out there. And I totally understand where you're coming from. We all have to get into, I would say, apart from being mindful about what we are eating, we also have to be mindful about the source of what we are eating now.
Yes, correct. So that is where like we generally talk about the holistic approach, right? You try to see the entire picture and not just a one thing, that I'm getting the water and I'm happy with it. But you can think about and that's where I was talking about the climate change also, in a way, that
Mhm.
how the climate change is connected with everything, right? Because
Mhm.
once you think about, for an example, if we don't want to think about the 5 or 7 things, water is there, food is there, air is there, waste management is there, there are like thousand things, right? If
Yeah.
we get only one thing and start going deeper into it, food for an example, once we start going deeper into it, there are chances that we'll connect with the climate change, we connect with the gender inequality, we connect with the casteism, we connect with the religion, everything will get connected and it start making sense. So that's how I see it. Like currently we are talking about the food, right? So if we start talking about the food, the how the food is getting harvested, how the gender inequality come into the picture, because generally we associate only male as a farmer and not female as the farmer.
Mhm.
If you see, if you go on the ground, so I have done the permaculture course and I have done some farm designs as well. And I was working on the soil in farming. So I see that 80% of work is done by the woman of the farm. But still, we tell that the person with the head of the family, the so-called the patriarchal men, we call them only as a farmer. So if we start going deeper into anything, like for an example, currently I am talking about yoga because I went a bit deep and still I'm trying to go deeper into it. But once I started understanding the yoga, I started understanding all these things about the food, the water, the air pollution, all the crisis and all, right?
Mhm.
So if you are interested in the nutrition, if you are interested in the food, start going deeper into it and you can start seeing so many different variables in that.